Welcome to the Sailor Noob podcast, where a superfan and a noob talk about the original Sailor Moon episode by episode. I'm your host, Mikan Hana, joined by my co-host.
I'm the co-host, Caliban. I'm also the noob. School's out forever.
Hi, and we're a couple of magical people ready to moon cosmic power make up this episode. Today we are talking about episode number 123, Hametsu no Kage, Chimoku no Meshiya no Mezame in Japanese. Shadows of Destruction, The Messiah of Silence Awakens, the English translation, and the English title, Wake Up Call.
Wake up call.
Wake up call.
Mezame.
Yeah, mezame.
It means friends in my friends in French. But there's no friends here.
No.
Only evil students.
Yes. Lots of evil well, okay,
go to
so
this school.
I was rereading the
don't go to this school.
I was rereading the manga, and in the manga they make it very clear that the students they're pretty sure that the students are being brainwashed.
Oh yeah, I think they're being brainwashed. That's a detail that we don't delve into in this
Not
series.
Really.
Yeah.
So
what we see is just a bunch of students who are like, yeah, I'm cool. I'm down.
I'll
I've
give
got
you
professional
my pure
class, and then after that, the ritual. Then it's pizza.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey,
They feed me, so
There's no real. Yeah. Oh, okay. It's a pizza party. Okay, I see.
I'm just here for the pizza.
All right, everybody. We're gonna torture you. We're gonna take out your heart and turtle soul, and then pizza. So veggie lovers for you. Sausage and I remember. I think we were having a conversation, so I remember that a conversation that we were having about like the pizza parties of old and what was the best pizza that you've ever had. And something that I realized about my pizza experiences was that the pizza that I love and remember has nothing to do with the taste. I can tell you when I'm eating, the moment that I'm eating bad pizza, I'm like, oh, this is bad pizza.
Sure, yeah.
And I suppose if the pizza's good, I'm like, oh, it's good. But when I think back to the best pizzas that I've had, it has nothing to do with the taste. I couldn't give you a profile of what made it good or bad. It was totally tied to the moment that I was in. I had pizza in London. Let me finish.
Okay, I'm letting you
it
finish.
Wasn't just fish on a chip.
Oh, Lord.
It was just like it wasn't even like really like a pizza bistro or a joint or something like that. It was just like, it was a nice restaurant and they had pizza and other things. And I had pizza and there was some variation about it, probably some overseas thing. But I remember thinking like, this is fantastic. And it's only because I was in London, like on vacation.
I get it.
And one time this is a long story. One time I went to Oklahoma City and nothing ever happened there.
Yeah.
And I was with a girl, I don't know, I can't remember if we were dating. It's not important to the story. But we were like visiting the city and we saw that and we were like, what do we do for food? This is like, I was in college. So we're just like, we just got in the car and drove and we had no plan. And it's like, what do we do? Oh, I think it was a Detroit-style pizza place.
Okay.
It's the first time I like it now. I know that I like it because I bought it myself. But at that time, I was just like, oh, let's try this. And it was the end of this long day, and we had been traveling, and we had this pizza, and it was just really good. And I remember that. But I couldn't tell you, decades later, I consciously tried Detroit-style pizza for the first time. I was like, oh, I really like this.
Right.
But like, idiot, you had that like a long time ago.
Some of the best pizza I think I had was when I was in Italy, and I just remember it being, I know, but I just remember it being really fresh.
Yeah, all right.
And like just really simple and really good.
You one-upped me.
Okay.
I was in Italy.
I was in Italy. And then, I had deep dish pizza in Chicago.
Well, I mean, you can get that anywhere.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It's not as special anymore.
I think what I decided,
it used to be when I was younger, I feel like.
Was the pizza of triumph for me in my memory is Little Caesars pizza.
Why is that?
Which has changed a lot, I think, since it was a touchstone for having a good time as a kid for me. But I, went to youth group when I was a kid, and you're going to feed, 40 kids in a youth group.
Sure.
It's got to be as cheap as possible. and it's got to get there hot and fast. And that was Little Caesars because you
Okay.
get pizza. You get 2 for 1
Yes.
because it's garbage. And they're square pizzas, and they're cut in square. And they come, probably they have actual boxes now, but at the time they just came in these like cardboard holders, basically a sheet of cardboard with a little lip on each side, and not even cardboard for the top. It was just covered with paper. So the sound of that paper, that butcher paper being opened, and the one topping thin crust pizza on the inside was just like, I'm home. That's it. You can keep your garlic barbecue chicken pesto or whatever.
Sure,
It's
whatever
just like,
crazy thing you guys kids are doing these days.
Give me ketchup on a cracker.
It is just really simplistic, isn't it? If it's just sauce and one topping.
Well, how fancy? That's the problem with deep dish, is that it's like a casserole.
It is,
and it's all wet and kind of lukewarm inside, and
hopefully more than lukewarm. But...
And at the very best, if you get good crust, it's like hard. It's like having it's like having a lukewarm meat casserole inside of like a crust. It's like beef Wellington with like wet sausage and mushrooms on the inside.
You're really selling it here.
Well, I mean, that's my experience with it.
Well, I feel like we've had some good deep dish pizza in Chicago before.
Yeah, but you got to go to this real special place, though.
Yeah, that's like this tiny, like converted house or what have you, and in the middle of a nice suburb.
Yeah, but we also had like good fish tacos in Chicago. Explain that.
Great point, because we're nowhere near the coast. I don't think they got the fish from Lake Michigan. So
lake trout.
Yeah. But those were amazing. Those were some really, really, really good tacos. Yeah. We've had a lot of really good food in Chicago. We went to another really great Mexican
Welcome
place.
to Midwestern Food Review with Mika and Caliban.
Yeah.
Let me tell you about the crepe Suzette in Ames, Iowa, to die for. And you will die when a tornado picks you up and flings you into the next state.
Well, I don't think we've, I mean, I guess we already have gotten to our episode. I forgot, we've been talking about food for so long that I forgot the horrible name Wake Up Call. So,
well, wake up.
We must be doing something right. So would you like to give us a breakdown of today's episode?
I'm still trying to think of how Wake Up Call could apply. I suppose it could, but it would be very dark. It'd be a very dark interpretation that I don't think that Clover Way means. And it applies specifically to the end of the episode. Yeah. Which we are about 25 minutes away from. Getting longer the more I put it off. But I guess I'll begin. And the show begins... Post-title card, no time for a teaser, on a darkened Mugen Academy. Mm-hmm. We see rows and rows of students walking in lockstep up the stairs of the academy. It's like a Pink Floyd video. Yes. And we see an image of a blue-haired woman with a side ponytail braid saying, "Gather students to my side." What? Who
is this bitch?
Like, to me, my X-Men. Welcome to Mugen Academy. Like, I totally hope you survive the experience.
Oh my God.
We pull back from Mugen. It's like rolling the mouse wheel back on Google Maps. Above the city, we see it squatting on the waterfront of Tokyo Bay. We cut to Haruka's face, and she and Michiru standing in their rooftop Zen garden, looking out over the city. Mm-hmm. Haruka says, "There's sorrow in the wind." And Michiru says, "This planet is afraid of the unknown." So we started off with like Emmylou Harris and then ended up with like Jamiroquai or something like that. I don't even know.
They're both like very comfortable talking in riddles.
They are.
And answering each other in riddles. So, you know.
They are. They walked out of a French experimental film.
Yeah. They pair with each other well.
Yes, I guess. Yeah, like the crepe Suzette in Ames, Iowa with Monster Energy drink. We Google Maps scroll out from them, and then we see the streetlights of Tokyo from airplane height. We see a stream of rainbow-colored bubbles float across the sky.
Yeah.
Something is building here. Something ominous.
So be good, for goodness sake. Whoa, somebody's coming.
We have to get out of here.
We see a quick flash of Hotaru saying, Chibiusa. And again the bubbles. Again with the bubbles.
Yes.
Speaking of bubbles, it's bath time at the Sakino household. If you're watching the sub, that is. I can't imagine how this made its way into the dub, but we'll talk about that. Chibi is soaking in a tub thinking, where did you go, Hotaru? And Usagi is rinsing her hair, and as she gets up, she says, Chibi-yusa, I'm sure that Hotaru is, whoa. She slips and falls into the tub with Chibi. But Chibi's not even mad.
Yeah.
They play the fun, let's pretend to drown each other game. But they're only pretending. This time. On the way to bed, the girls head to their respective rooms, but Chibi says, hey, Usagi, I'm worried about Hotaru, but I'll keep my spirits up. And Usagi thinks, that's great. But behind her, Luna and Artemis are there to remind her she's got another duty.
Yeah.
We see Usagi, now clothed, and running down the street at night as we get a VO from Artie telling us that the Mugen students are gathering for some purpose. Or some porpoise. Maybe they have a dolphin guest lecturer. Usagi thinks as she... Come on, I mean, like, this whole thing's 45% dad jokes. Usagi thinks as she runs, Chibi, I'll find Hotaru for you. We cut to that Hotaru in her Messiah of Silence outfit. And she's having a fit. She's clutching her chest. She's breathing heavily. We see that she's still on her Messiah throne, but it's locked inside a giant glass booth, surrounded by green miasma. Mm-hmm. Observing her are Dr. Giggles and the side-braided woman from before. Dr. G says, it looks bad. She's getting weaker. And the blue-haired woman says, I, Cyprine, the final and greatest witch, will get her a pure heart. We see, too, that Cyprine is wearing glasses, but they're, like, mismatched. One lens is round, and the other is very pointed.
Oh, I didn't catch
like
that.
She's got 50s lady nerd glasses.
Interesting.
Yeah, grandma glasses.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. G says, say it with me. I'm counting on you, Cyprine. You're the only one left I can depend on.
Yep.
She says, you can count on me. I'm not like Karenite. Bet your ponytailed ass you're not. As she says this, we see a mane of red hair fall down from the ceiling, and we see that Kaori is hanging upside down from the rafters.
Yes.
Like a bat?
Yes.
What?
It's amazing.
We're taking this Addams Family thing a little too far. Dr. G says, do a good job.
Do a good show, all right?
And we focus in on Kaori, who thinks, he said the same thing to her as he did to me. And we see that Cyprine sees her, and she kind of gives her a smirk. And Kaori disappears from the ceiling, and she reappears on the other side of the glass tank. We see that she's still in her vampy, high-cut dress. Her real superpower would be staying inside this dress when she hangs upside down, but there you go. She says to herself, I mean, like the flaps and everything.
I know.
She says to herself, if that's how it is, I'll get the biggest, most pure heart they've ever seen. One that makes Mother Teresa look like a riverboat gambler.
Oh, my God.
As she thinks this, her hand absently crushes the section of wall that she's touching. She thinks, my target is the girl who's closer than anyone to Hotaru. That little weirdo Chibiusa. We cut to Chibiusa. Maybe? We see her standing all alone in a sickly greenish-orange space. I misused the word miasma before. That was just a mist, because this, my friends, this is the real miasma. Chibi seems confused, looking all around her, and she sees a cross. An old rugged cross. You know, someone else saw... I'll skip it. Because it gets weirder than anything I could do. Attached to that cross is her friend Hotaru. And rising from the mist, all around... Miasma, sorry. And rising from the miasma all around the cross are white-fleshed, misshapen hands. There's a great bit of visual storytelling here where Chibi's look is she's like looking at her like, and then, it rises up and there's all these hands. She goes like, her eyes like, oh. Her look goes from concern to accidentally saw Hellraiser on Showtime when I was 6 face.
That's amazing.
Hotaru looks pitifully up from the cross and says, Chibi, lama sambaktani. That's not, no, we can't do that. Sorry. She says, only Aramaic kids will understand. Okay. No, she says, Chibi, please help me. Right before the hands, I'll grab her and drag her into the darkness.
Yes.
Chibi sits bolt upright in bed and screams, Hotaru! And we cut back to the Pink Floyd wall kids, all walking in lockstep. A set of double doors marked with a black star swings open, and we see the inner sanctum of learning. It's all in the brochure, Mugen Academy boasts an evil supercomputer, a creepy underground disco, an unholy cathedral of dark knowledge, and a 100% graduation rate. Inside the cathedral, a vaulted dome admits light through swirling stained glass, and ominous winged statues stand against marble columns and look down on the silent students as they file in. Cyprien shouts, "Now is the time to give your hearts to the Deathbusters!" And as the students march in, we see our girls, the squad, hidden among their number.
Mm-hmm.
Not in uniforms, though.
No.
Bad disguises. Cyprien raises her hands to the sky, and one by one, as the old rugged cross plays on the organ, the pure heart crystals pour from the bodies of the students as they collapse to the floor. With a snap of Cyprien's fingers, a red laser-like light shoots down from the dome ceiling, bathing everything in carnelian tones. Cyprien says, "Young ladies, visitors aren't allowed in Mugen Academy, and our girls are encased in a giant bubble that floats them up to the ceiling dome, where they disappear." They should have burped.
They should have burped?
Burp, Charlie! Burp!
What?
They'll be cut to ribbons! They're like going up in a bubble.
Okay, gotcha.
They tried the fizzy lifting drinks.
Right. It's kind of ominous. You don't know what's going to happen to them. You're like, what's happening? Where are they going?
You literally don't know, because they're weirdly encased in a bubble, and then they, like, vanish?
Yeah.
Or pass through the wall or something?
They pass through, like, the floor.
But we don't know that. They just
Yeah.
kind of disappear.
Yes.
And it's interesting because, Cyprien says, "Okay, everyone, hand over your hearts. I have some pests to get rid of." And she leaves. But among the students, we see Haruka and Michiru,
Uh-huh.
who saw the girls go through the ceiling.
Right.
And they nod to each other like, "That's right, right." And I'm like, what are you talking about? How do you know? How do you know? Oh, we've seen this bubble before.
I feel like their nod to each other is more like what we see later, but we don't know that.
Right. No, I know. That's fine. I'm just
Yeah.
saying in relation to this weird thing that has happened.
It is a weird thing that they had just observed, and they were just like, right.
Have you also noticed, maybe this goes in the notes at the end, but boy, we sure like doing finales in tall buildings, and often it takes a long time to get to the top of a tall building. So what if a red bubble just encases the heroes and they're just sucked up to the top?
We'll just fast forward through this part.
Cutscene, X.
Yeah.
Press X.
Nanomachines.
In the attic office, the bubble-carrying Usagi and friends materializes through the floor and disappears, leaving the girls confused. Audience, too. A voice says, "Welcome, Sailor Guardians," and Cyprien spins around in a chair behind the desk. She says, "What's up? I'm Cyprien, last of the Witches 5. Wasting no time, Makoto says, "Looks like we don't have to hide our identities." And Minako says, "Transform, everyone!" And we get a big 5-way transform!
Yes.
Which Cyprien patiently sits through.
She totally does.
Speaking of Austin Powers, she just pulls out a 5-shot revolver while they're doing this. Just zzz, blam, 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 blam,
Oh
blam.
my God.
I've got
I
a gun
know.
in my room. I'll go get it. We'll do it together. It'll be fun.
You just don't get it, do you? You don't.
The girls say in turn, "I, Venus, with love and beauty, will save this planet. I, Mercury, won't permit the silence to happen. You defile pure hearts. In the name of Mars, I'll chastise you. I, Jupiter, will make you feel so much regret, it'll leave you numb. We are the Sailor Team. In the name of the moon, we'll punish you." Mm-hmm. Cyprien says, "LOL, soon this planet will be enveloped by silence and the Deathbusters will be victorious." Mars replies with, "Burning Mandala!" which destroys the desk and the windows behind it, leaving a cloud of smoke, which would be sucked outside at this altitude. I mean, if you really think about it, but that's okay. And Ray is an anime fan. She should really know that if the smoke hasn't cleared, the bad guy isn't dead.
Yeah,
and she is blasted back by a red and a blue ball of energy from the smoke. As she tries to rise, another red ball of energy streaks towards her, and she throws herself out of the way, but is she's struck again by a blue ball of energy and collapses to the ground. Red ball, blue ball. Mm-hmm. Cyprien, staff in hand, floats above the sailors, laughing as they run to Mars' aid. Well, most of them, because Venus lashes out with a "Love Me" chain, ensnaring the witch and bringing her down to the ground. Cyprien laughs and says, "You think you've caught me?" And Venus is blindsided by a red ball of energy. Mm-hmm. Cyprien reaches out her hand and is met by Another hand.
Yes.
There's 2 Cyprines.
Yes.
What? One with blue hair and one with red with the braid on the other side. But she doesn't have a goatee. Shows she's not a true mirror person.
No.
They're laughing, and the blue one says, I am Cyprine. And the red one says, I am Piddle.
Yeah.
Just gotta move on from that.
Yep.
Okay, then. So the 2 of us are one mind, one body. Different boyfriends. It's important. Don't mix that up. Jupiter says, yeah, cool. Sparkling wine pressure! The 2 witches entwine their star-tipped staffs, slow down, and say, that won't work on us. And they seem to return Jupiter's attack back to her, tossing her like a rag doll. And did I mention this is all taking place against a starry background? Something happened when these 2 girls showed up. They're in space now or something.
Yeah.
It's a different place.
Yes.
It's like when you're fighting the boss and then like all the exits have a red shield on them. And so, nope, you were going to fight this boss.
Yeah, you can't
Face
you
it
can't
straight.
leave.
Fight or die.
Yeah.
The red and blue witches leap up and fire red and blue blasts at the 2 remaining Senshi who scramble to get away. Cyprine says, my, all they do is scramble to get away. Careful. Careful, show. Getting close. Hey, if you want to see more, you got to draw it. Piddle says, the Sailor Senshi aren't much, are they? We cut to Shei Tomoe with Chibi standing outside of the house, just like tossing a brick up and down in one hand. She thinks, I'll save you for sure, Hotaru. And she transforms into Sailor Chibi Moon. Great. I hope nobody sees a Sailor Senshi breaking into this house. Someone does see it, however. In an upstairs window, Karanite is looking down and thinks, so that little weirdo is a Sailor Senshi too. Don't. Phone booth, Chibi, phone booth.
I know.
Or an alleyway or something. As Chibi stands before the doors of the house, they swing open on their own, and she cautiously makes her way inside, thinking, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. Inside the house, she sees a figure standing by a window and says, Hotaru?
But it's like so
Not unless
clearly
Hotaru went
not.
through super puberty.
Yes.
Yeah.
Super tall, voluptuous.
This
Who
is Karanite.
silhouette? Yeah.
Yes. Kaori says, Hotaru wants to see you too. And she changes from her regular slinky clothes to her supervillain slinky clothes. Kaori says, Hotaru says she wants your pure heart. She would have added if kids liked Jodie Foster movies.
Yeah, sure, exactly.
Maybe there'll be one on Showtime tonight.
You fly back to school now, little starling.
As Kaori takes a step towards Chibi, a red rose sinks into the linoleum, driving Kaori back. Tuxedo Mask is here. He says, your heart has grown so cold, you can't even feel the warmth of a girl's love for her friend. You're a pitiful warrior.
Bada bop boom pow.
Kaori respectfully disagrees by rising into the air and blasting at him. We see the windows of the house blow out, and Chibi herself is blown out of a window to TM's dismay.
I know.
Oh, okay. They're already on the second floor of the house. That's why Tuxedo Mask was just with them on that floor. Technically, he's already elevated. He's above the ground. He can't come in on the ground. And technically, Chibi just fell out of a 2-story window. So she hits the lawn.
point.
She hits the lawn with a thud. Kaori appears ready to finish her off, but we get a dead scream. Sailor Pluto has arrived.
Yes.
All the last-minute saves are happening here. I'm waiting for some Ebby Fry from Tuxedo Umino Mask.
Yes!
Kaori throws up a cloud of red smoke, and when it all clears, we see Chibi under her arm as they disappear into thin air, Kaori laughing and saying, now I have it, the purest of hearts!
Yeah.
Nice work, guys.
I know.
Should have waited for Tuxedo Umino Mask to show up.
Abby Fry would have saved the day.
Takes her right down. Back in the attic office, Mercury casts Shine Aqua Illusion, but Cyprine catches it and throws it back at her, knocking her to the ground. The Sailor Senshi are on the ropes! They think we have to separate them somehow. And the witchy pair says, playtime is over. Now we shoot to kill. The Sailor Senshi leap into action to use their teamwork. Mercury gives us a Shaban spray!
Yes.
Classic Sailor Moon. And the animation mistake is fixed, too.
Oh, is it really?
No weird glove flash. They fixed that finally.
Okay.
Only 3 seasons in. With the battlefield obscured, Venus throws another Love Me chain as the witch twins grab the chain with their staves and they prepare to electrocute her or something.
I'm not
I don't know how they're
sure.
going to retaliate against
Yeah.
the chain, whip it back at her face or something.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. We get Moon Tiara action and Fire Soul flying at the pair.
Yes.
We're digging deep.
Yes,
Classic
I love
Sailor
it.
Moon. However, the attacks are merely absorbed by the witches. They say, your attacks make us more powerful. And as she says this, Cyprien is speared from behind by Jupiter. Breaking her connection to Piddle, Cyprien chases Jupiter off into the mist, and as Piddle watches her go, Sailor Mars comes flying out of the mist with a double axe handle, knocking her to the ground. Piddle quickly gets up and gives chase, shooting lasers at Mars. As the Senshi dodges them, we see Cyprite doing the same as she chases after Jupiter. Jupiter leaps desperately into the air as Piddle begins to charge a huge blast like a turkey shoot. She's going to take her right down. But Venus grabs Jupiter out of the way, and Mars leaps aside as Piddle and Cyprien blast each other with their own attacks,
Yes.
bringing the fight and their lives to an end.
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass.
Back in the cathedral, we see the menacing winged statue begin to glow and then shatter. Don't know how that was connected to anything, but it was important somehow.
I feel like it was connected to Cyprien somehow. Like it was like an embodiment of her
Sure.
or something. But
That's something we can introduce at this late date.
that's not established.
After they're dead.
Yeah.
In the attic office, the normal background of the room fades back into view, but the fight is not over. Outside the shattered window, in midair, a portal appears, and through it, the basement lab can be seen. We're getting these two together.
Yes.
Attic office, basement lab.
That's right.
Ebony and Ivory, upstairs, downstairs.
You got it.
This building technically is swallowing its own ass at this point. This building has just become a complete Mobius strip. Mercury scans it and determines that it's a passageway to an alternate space, the Deathbusters' hideout, and the Senshi bravely decide to cross the portal. Meanwhile, already in the basement lab are sailors Neptune and Uranus, and as they traverse the gloomy corridors of the lab, they see Dr. Giggles standing upon a dais, upon which sits an altar, and upon that altar, Chibi!
Yes.
The professor, his arms outstretched, laughs. And as the sailors approach, little bells strung between the supporting columns of the room tinkle as if in response. Maybe we'll talk about that later? Do you know what's going on with that?
I don't know what's
Guess we
going on
won't.
with that.
All right. It's weird.
It is weird.
He says, "Welcome, Sailor Guardians. You can join the ceremony about to begin." You should say, "Watch the ceremony." Okay, we'll join. I'm going to hold her legs. You get her arms. And they just take her away. They're like, let me check the book. That's not how this ceremony goes. Come back here. Uranus immediately dashes to reach Chibi, but she is electrocuted by a force field surrounding the dais. The inner Senshi arrive, and Sailor Moon says, "Who are you?" Dr. G doesn't answer, but he does summon Knight, who appears and says, "The Messiah of Silence will awaken soon, thanks to Chibi's pure heart." And we see behind the altar, on an even higher dais, Hotaru on her dark throne.
Yes.
Its dais is all the way down.
You got it.
Deus X for extreme.
Oh.
Infernus X.
Infernus X?
The devil out of the machine.
Oh.
Infernus Ex Machina.
Wow.
Sailor Moon. Okay, well, I know a little Latin. Sailor Moon. Geez,
Look at you pulling out all the languages.
Hey, I went to Mugen Academy for 2 years. They threw me out, but I lost my handbook. Sailor Moon didn't get the memo. She runs directly forward into the force field and collapses in pain. As creepy la-la music begins to play, Hotaru begins to glow and her eyes turn red. Dr. G is really excited about this. He will need to change his pants later.
Oh my God.
And he says, "Messiah of Silence!" And Usagi says, "No, Chibi!" And she gets up and runs into the force field again. She can't get through.
No.
She's nothing if not persistent.
Yes.
As Hotaru begins to rise from her throne, a ghostly hand of purple energy emerges from her chest and plunges itself into Chibi's chest. This is a new thing.
Yeah.
Haven't seen
it
this.
is.
Chibi screams in pain, but as she looks towards Hotaru, she says, "I'm glad you're all right." She goes limp as her heart crystal is pulled from her, and the Senshi are horrified. Sailor Chibi Moon reverts to plain Chibi as Dr. G contemplates her heart crystal. He says, "A pure heart befitting the Messiah of Silence." Uranus says, "Don't! If you awaken Sailor Saturn, the world is doomed!" But Chibi's heart floats closer to Hotaru and the Meshia opens her mouth wide to receive it, which is very weird.
It is very weird.
Usagi shouts, "Please, make Hotaru stop! If you love Hotaru, I'm begging you!" But the professor says, "Love? What is love?
I know.
Baby, don't hurt me no more." Hotaru absorbs Chibi's heart, and when she does, she begins to change. Her hair grows impossibly long. Plus, she seems to be older now.
Yep.
She's clad in a dark blue gown, and a black star is emblazoned on her forehead. Uranus and Neptune are shocked, and Neptune says, "That's not Sailor Saturn." No! The woman who was Hotaru says, "I am the Meshia of silence, Mistress Nine," as energy crackles around her, and Dr. G is really ruining those pants. This is like,
"Some creatures goes in the Gozerian, goes in the Destructor. Volgasidroha, the Traveler has come."
Oh my god.
the Sailor Senshi are completely at a loss as lightning begins to strike all around Mistress Nine, blasting the dais that she was standing on. Kara Knight says, "We've won, Professor." And Dr. G says, "You've worked very hard, Kara Knight." He was jizzing in his pants just a little bit ago.
I know.
You should be suspect that he's doing his boss voice right now. When he says that, Kaori maybe ruins her dress, and she says, "Those words made it all worthwhile, Professor. Professor, But she can't finish as she is blasted by lightning.
I know.
And pinned against the force field, double shocked. "You're not my real mom." As Kara Knight slides to the floor, smoking slightly, Mistress Nine says, "Her role is done. Prepare for the next stage." And Dr. G says, "Yes." As purple energy blasts out from Mistress Nine, knocking down the supporting pillars and dropping the force field, the Senshi run to Chibiusa, who lies still on the altar. Uranus says, "We gotta get out of here." And we cut to outside of Mugen Academy as we see purple light explode out of the top floor of the building and all down the building. The windows shatter as the building itself explodes and rains rubble down on the streets. At the base of the building, very unsafely.
Yes.
But they're heroes. Tuxedo Mask, Sailor Pluto, and the cats look up in horror, but they're relieved as the Senshi carrying Chibi's lifeless body come running out of the front entrance. Everyone is freaked out that Chibi is not breathing, and she's not a good color. This is a bad color for a little girl to be.
It is real bad.
Mercury says, "What about the other students inside?" But Tuxedo Mask says, "We led them all out. Conveniently, off screen we did that.
Somehow.
Let's go." Only Pluto stays behind, and she looks up to see Uranus and Neptune atop a pillar, looking down at her. Later at Mamoru's place, Mamoru holds Chibi as Usagi and the cats look on. His hand glows where it holds Chibi's, and Luna says, "Their bodies are now linked. His life force will sustain her for now." This is a new thing I didn't know about.
It's the plot, you know. This happens in the manga too. But yeah.
Alrighty then.
It's yeah.
So good adaptation. Usagi says, "What have we been fighting for until now? Look at what they did to Chibiusa."
Look how they massacred my boy.
I know.
Satsuna arrives and says that she's going back to Mugen Academy with the Outers to defeat the Meshia of Silence. But the girls are like, "What are you taught? This again? She's Hotaru.
Yes.
This is a complicated thing." Satsuna says, "There's no other way to save Small Lady." And she turns to leave. Usagi says, "I've had enough. I don't want to make anyone else unhappy. I don't want to see any more tears." And Mamoru says, "We have to do what we can. We'll fight for what we believe in," as we see the 5 Sailor Senshi walking back to the ruined Mugen Academy.
Oh, it gives me chills.
Does this episode exist in the dub?
Yes.
But probably shorter. We got nudity. We got Christ imagery.
Yeah.
We got thigh-high slits. Mass hysteria. I suppose people will have to stick around and listen to our Patreon to hear the Sabu or Dabu.
Yes, I suppose
find out
they will.
the truth.
Yes.
How does she stay inside that dress? So that is it for Mugen Academy.
Yeah.
I mean, more or less. I just mean like the institution of Mugen Academy.
Yes.
is over.
Exactly.
A lot of upset parents coming to pick up their kids off the sidewalk where they're stacked like cordwood.
Like, what the heck happened here?
Well, I want my tuition back.
Yeah, no kidding.
No matter what. Good thing the world's ending because Dr. G is bankrupt after this. There's no way.
Yeah, no kidding.
Can we talk about Mistress 9?
Yes.
Girl 6, Mistress 9.
What's Girl 6?
That's a Spike Lee movie.
Oh,
Don't
okay.
worry about it.
Okay.
It's inappropriate, too. Although, is it? Because, oh, great, she's effable now.
Yeah, well.
What is it with this series? And taking child characters and going, but like, you'd want to do them, though, right?
Blame Naoko. It's in the manga.
Well, what's her thing, then?
Blame her. I don't know. There's a lot of really cool fan art, I think, of let me finish.
I bet there is.
No, it's not like what you're thinking.
Remember when I said that they rule 34 to character, but I meant like they rule 63 to character?
And I don't remember what the numbers
63
mean.
is gender swap them.
Oh, okay.
And I was on a panel at Convergence, which we haven't talked about at all. I don't know, maybe we'll talk about it at the end of the show. And I was like, yeah, they totally rule 34 with that character. And I didn't see a bunch of like cringing faces.
I didn't get it.
So I think nobody else knew what I was talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got away with that one. But these internet artists you speak of, I doubt they got away with it.
No, I'm just saying there's a lot of art of Mistress 9 and Black Lady or Dark Lady together. These characters are friends, they're young girls, and then they're older. Well, no, it's not like, well, maybe some are like that.
Oh, okay. Come on, Crystal. Or no, the new Sailor Moon continuation that we have wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
You have to accept. It's like the Quantum Leap reboot.
Okay. I'm listening.
People under 25, you will hear a dial tone for the next 30 seconds, but we're still here. There's 5 seasons of Quantum Leap, and now they're going to do a reboot.
Yes.
But not a reboot like the first one never happened. This is considered the 6th season.
A continuation.
It's a reboot / continuation. I mean, you turn your computer off, you turn it back on again, you're rebooting it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's absolutely true.
We use that word wrong in fandom. I don't know whose fault it is, but I'd like to kill them. So anyway, so we get our 6th season of Sailor Moon. You have to set it in the future. You have to.
Yeah.
You have to set it in the future of Silver Millennium, the new Millennium Kingdom, Crystal Kingdom, and Chibi's got a girlfriend.
Okay.
And it's Sailor Saturn. Done.
Okay. I don't have a problem with that.
We make all the Rule 34 artists happy.
Oh my God.
Which is my only goal. Just ask anybody at that Quantum Leap panel. Do I get a sticker for this?
For what?
Look, I mean, like, you know,
you got to be more
this
specific.
child's cartoon, how tough is it to predict? But I predicted that we were going to feed Chibiusa to Hotaru a long-ass time ago.
I suppose.
And you know how I did it?
Worthy.
I did it
how?
Based on the fact that this is just Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
They got the Keymaster and the Gatekeeper together.
Don't tell Mark.
And while you pick out, look, I like referencing things. That's fine. She and I would probably enjoy a lot of the same movies. We would probably trade DVDs.
But
my point is,
tips for picking out a sticker in here.
Just get one that it's clear that it's not. If it's a long thing, those are a girl's legs, and I've got plenty of character ones. So pick a round or a square one.
Oh, that's kind of.
Oh, this is great radio. So while you're doing that, I'll
pick another one.
Speaking of Ghostbusters, here are some other things. Right. I've already mentioned the fact that they are, summoning something. It's based on possession by something else. Probably the new Ghostbusters movie, which I did not see and disappeared so quickly without a trace. Ghostbusters 2021.
Oh,
22,
yeah.
Did you know that Olivia Wilde plays... Oh, spoilers, I guess, for what you know is coming in the new Ghostbusters film. She plays Gozer the Gozerian in it.
No.
Yeah. Don't you think that would have come out after the movie came out?
I didn't even know she was
because
in
nobody cares about that movie at all.
No.
So anyway,
cares.
Back to the old one, which nobody kind of also cares about. You've got a tall building.
Yes.
Where the climax is taking place.
Yes.
The building explodes. Rubble rains down on Ron Jeremy and the people below.
That's
got light coming out of the building. You even have a character who is grabbed by a bunch of disembodied hands and pulled back into their darkness or into danger.
Yeah.
Like Dana Barrett in her Barcalounger. I don't know why that park lunch is a funny word, but you're laughing because you recognize that
it's a
happened
funny
in
word,
Ghostbusters
yes.
1984.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, give me that sticker then.
Okay, here's your sticker.
It's a character sticker.
But it's Tuxedo Mask. It's not girls' legs.
I will put this very, very high up on the back of my computer, and people will get the joke.
Okay, I like that.
All right.
He has to be at the highest point.
So anyway, normally I like to point out Jesus and T2, but it just seems self-evident at this part, right?
Well, the Jesus part for sure.
Yeah.
Who
do you say I am? The guy that points out Jesus and T2. So I just want to point out the Ghostbusters thing instead.
Okay. That's fair.
Here's something else I want to point out.
Yeah.
So we're kind of, I guess I didn't predict, although I did predict the desperation in the writers of like, oh, there's a couple witches left, so this is going to blow through these witches real fast.
Yeah, you did.
But I feel like turning the last witch into two witches is their attempt to go like, no, we got a little more. There's a little more juice here.
You can also blame Naoko for that one. So.
Well, does Naoko? Oh, you know what? Do the writers of DC Comics like Sailor Moon, the manga? Because Superman became a red and a blue Superman in 1998.
Oh.
So
Good
Superman,
question.
after he returned from death,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes his powers were a little wonky.
Mm-hmm.
And for a while, he turned into Electricity Superman.
Mm-hmm.
He was all blue, and his powers were like energy, electric based for some reason.
Sure.
Keeping comic sales up. That's the reason. And then something weird happened, and he split. He was divided into two Supermen, a red one and a blue one.
Okay.
The Incredible Hulk has an evil twin, but he's not green. He's red.
I know, and it was amazing. Do you see it?
You can't compete with that.
And so they were both Superman. They were both Superman and Clark Kent. They were two
That's weird.
people who were the same person, just like Pearl and Cyprian. And that caused problems because they both were married to Lois Lane. Slow down.
That's an issue.
but really slow down, though. They weren't going there with that. They didn't form a super polycule, although that would be really interesting. And they both wanted to work at the Daily Planet, so they had to figure that out. Now, plus side, it's never been easier to convince people that you're not Clark Kent when you're Superman. Because all you have to do is just show up, and then you got the short straw, so you show up as Clark Kent. And I'm like, oh, Mr.
Sure.
Kent, I've enjoyed your articles about the crisis in Wanda.
Right.
It's the 90s.
You have to be Clark Kent for the day, and then the other guy gets to be Superman.
So that was 1998. This was 1995, 4 or 5?
Something like that.
The manga was probably written in 92, 93. Right.
Yeah.
But guess what? In a what-if story, in 1963, we had red Superman and blue Superman.
There you go.
DC wins again.
Maybe Naoko is a DC fan.
She must be.
Yeah.
I've often wondered, and I wonder why I don't know, what the penetration of comic properties is into Japan. Obviously, they've
US
had
comics.
a long history of their own comics.
Yeah.
But are they DC guys? Are they Marvel girls?
Well,
what are they?
My Spider-Man was huge.
Oh, they love
the
Spider-Man.
TV show
obviously.
over there. That's the one
I
thing
wonder,
that
but
really
did that
comes to
create
mind.
itself though? Because that Bandai or whoever it was got the rights
don't
then
know.
made the Super Sentai Spider-Man show.
Yeah.
So did the comic sales increase after that, or did they do that based on market research saying these guys love Spider-Man?
Fantastic question. I don't know which came first, the chicken or the egg. So
That's a different comic. There's no chicken.
I've got a really random question for you. How did the cats open Usagi's door? Because she comes up from the bathroom, and her and Chibi used to say goodnight, and then the cats are like, Usagi, and they open the door.
What was it?
But it wasn't done comedically.
Do you mean turn the knob?
Yes.
Well, you've never had a cat, so cats are very spry and very wily. And if you got two of them
Working together.
and they can talk,
That's
so
true.
they can coordinate.
That's true.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. All right. So I got another question for you. What do you think Chibiusa's dream that she has with Hotaru in it on the cross? What do you think that means or that signifies? Obviously, she's in danger.
It signifies that the Christian Messiah is one of the touchstones for the writers this season. It also signifies that she is being, pulled into this against her will, and she's being, sacrificed.
Yeah, that's true.
Which she is.
She totally is. I mean, the hands...
Her father is, offering her up, because I guess we don't know what happens once the Mishia's work is done. But we've seen how much he cares about all the other women that work for him.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, you're done now.
They're tools.
Goodbye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not to mention the fact that we don't know what's in her. Like the light thing just talked to Dr. G, brought Hotaru back from the dead, apparently, and did something to Dr. G. So we don't know if this is another spirit, if this is Abaddon, the Destroyer, Gog and Magog.
Right.
The Whore of Babylon. That's still Karanite, though.
Yes.
I'm not kidding, man.
I know.
I still think there's a beast coming that we haven't seen.
Okay.
I know that. Okay, I'm right. Let's see. Don't you think it's interesting that I know that I know. I don't know too. Don't you think it's interesting that when she eats the heart, she sort of like accepts it?
Yeah.
Yeah. What?
Oh, go ahead.
You always laugh before the punchline.
I'm sorry. I
like communion. Only Catholic kids will understand.
Okay.
It's like accepting this unholy communion, the wafer. She's sort of like,
well, that's an interesting take
I mean,
on
she
it.
is literally eating chibi. In this case, chibi is a girly Jesus.
Yes.
She's dying. Hotaru is eating her body, eating her flesh.
Chibiusa is being sacrificed. Yeah.
She is the sacrificial lamb.
She is. I just was gonna say it reminds me of how the daemon used to like swallow the pure
Obviously.
hearts. Yeah.
Obviously.
Okay.
But they go like this.
Yeah, they're like vacuum cleaners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Father O'Toole didn't like it when I did that.
No.
And then you go, and you try to play the kissing game, but you put the wafer on your lips and you go, I'll just give it to the next parishioner. Oh, I kiss. It's fun. You have fun.
No, that's gross.
4 left.
I know. It's crazy that there's only 4 left. I did have one other question. Why does Chibiusa go out on her own to the Tomoe house? And
She's done this 14 times.
And why is Kaori...
It's almost
like waiting for her there. It's almost like she
right at the end.
Her there.
They're all like, "Oh, we're not going to see this coming. How could this happen?" I don't know. Maybe you should have chained this 6-year-old to a radiator somewhere. Maybe you should have put her in a bank vault overnight, and we'd be okay. But you just like let her,
free range.
Yeah, old enough. Brought the apocalypse. We all knew it was going to happen.
Oh my gosh.
I'll do it myself. Where are you going? Somewhere.
I know.
That somewhere was hell.
Oh no.
Your Honor, a courtroom is a crucible. In it we burn away irrelevancies until we are left with a pure product, the truth, for all time.
Oh man, this is so intense. Data's on trial for his life.
I know. This episode, The Measure of a Man, is based on the Supreme Court's Dred Scott decision of 1857.
And every week on Backtracking, we take a look at the real-world events that inspired classic Star Trek episodes. Sorry.
Shut up! Who are you?
We're the hosts of Backtracking. I'm Caliban.
You will both be taken to the brig and from there to the nearest starbase, where you will answer charges for what you have done.
And I'm Guy Theorem.
This is not a game. This is life and death.
You can follow us on Twitter.
Backtracking is available wherever you listen to podcasts.
You go f*** yourself.
Today for Kyoro Kyoro Miru, or Curiously Looking Around, where we talk about elements of Japanese culture within the episode, we're going to talk about the Galápagos syndrome in Japan.
Uh-oh. Is this where everybody turns into turtles? My God, Doctor. He's got Galápagos syndrome.
That would be interesting. Turtles all the way down.
He's turning all the way down. His feet now have 3 toes.
But no, Galápagos syndrome or Galápagos-ka in Japanese is a term of Japanese origin used in business studies to refer to an isolated development branch of a globally available product. The term is used as an analogy to for Charles Darwin's On the Origin of Species. Darwin encountered in the Galapagos Islands isolated flora and fauna which had undergone evolutionary changes independently from the mainland, and this phenomenon was a key to the development of evolutionary theory.
So what you're saying is, when left alone,
yes,
in an isolated population,
yes,
animals, and I suppose plants,
yes,
flora and fauna will develop along their own evolutionary path,
yes,
apart from other creatures in the mainland, which presumably merge genetics because they're doing it. They're doing it.
Well, I mean, it makes sense, right? When you think about it, you're influenced by your environment and everything. So if you're isolated from the mainland, your environment would be a little bit different, and your needs might be a little bit different. So
yeah.
Therefore, the
turtles' needs.
The turtles' needs.
Why don't we have a Sonic around here? Just because I'm a turtle doesn't mean I don't want to eat at Sonic.
I need more algae.
You pull into the little thing, they put the microphone on your shell. Sonic's a place that had with roller skates, right?
Did they have roller skates? It's a drive-in.
Oh, I think, okay, maybe not.
I can't remember if they had roller skates or not. Maybe
I thought they were inheriting like the A&W kind of.
I mean, I don't know which ones had roller skates and which ones didn't. Maybe they all had roller skates.
Maybe none of them did. I don't know what I'm talking about.
A&W had roller skates. I swear to God they did.
I'm going to stop interrupting you.
Galapagos syndrome was originally, the term originally came up with because to refer to the Japanese 3G mobile phones, which had developed a large number of specialized features that were widely adopted in the Japanese market, but were unsuccessful abroad. And when I talk about 3G mobile, I'm talking about the flip phones.
Right.
That were really popular. And they came out with them really early on.
Like way before
anything over here.
We were still going up to the roof with our Nokias.
Yeah.
And they had 3G flip razors.
And we were like, whoa,
with
flip
Sailor
phones.
Moon charms.
Yeah. And I swear when I was there in like the early 2000s, I swear there was a feature on some flip phones where you could push a button and the screen would turn into a mirror. I mean, there were all these like really cool features.
Are Japanese
and stuff
people
like that.
afraid of hitting the globe button, which takes you to the internet? You remember that?
Yes.
That's
kind of a scary button, to be fair. That is a scary button.
It's going to cost so much.
I know, right? That is kind of terrifying. I mean, I guess another thing to mention too about flip phones is they allowed you to accessorize a lot.
Sure.
So Japanese cell phones are called keitai, or these mobile phones are called keitai, and or I guess actually mobile phones in general. Anyways, so a keitai strap is like a little charm that you can attach to your phone, and there would be a little like plastic loop specifically for you to put charms. And it wasn't just for young teenage girls. Adults had them too.
Yeah, phone nuts.
Yeah, right. And sometimes guys would have them too. But I gotta tell you, the teen girls, there was a keitai like accessory game
jingle, jingle.
going
what?
on.
Jingle, jingle. I can't hear you.
Yeah. Like I saw so many people with to be fair, when I was over there in the early 2000s, I had multiple straps as well. But like there were people who had like 15. And also they also made these little phone covers that were like plush. So they kind of looked like stuffed animals that like went over your phone and you could zip it. So you could have that and it would be like Hello Kitty's face or something like that.
Yeah, that's right. I hollowed out Hello Kitty.
I mean,
I'm speaking through her corpse right now.
Yeah, but then that makes your phone like the size of like a small football. Anyways. Whilst the original usage of the term was to describe highly advanced phones that were incompatible outside of the Japanese networks, as the mobile phone industry underwent drastic changes globally, the term was used to emphasize the associated anxiety about how the development of Japanese mobile phones and those in the worldwide economy went along different paths. So, does it need to be different if it works for Japan? But I guess the anxiety is that the Japanese companies weren't selling phones outside of the US, and then here comes Apple and they just start taking over the world economy. And then what do the Japanese companies do?
Well, anxiety is the right word because when you think about the French probably don't care that Americans aren't reading Asterix comics. Do you know what I mean?
Probably not.
Like that Tintin's not really penetrating over here because it's like, that's fine. That's their thing. But if you think about technology and you think about like the global market, the anxiety is, it'd be great to be Nokia. It'd sure be great to be Microsoft and be selling a lot of stuff. But our stuff just is sort of here because we've got this technology that sort of works on the system that we've created. And other companies like Nokia or Motorola can sell things all over the world because of a certain standard. And I was thinking about this idea, and it kind of seems like an invented problem because it's like you said, if Japanese people stuff works fine and they love having little charms on it, then what's the problem?
Right.
And the problem is that somebody in an attic office somewhere is like, but we could be making more money.
Right.
So it's like it's the describing of a capitalist lack in that our stuff isn't getting anywhere. And I think the reason that it's particularly stinging for the Japanese is because they didn't have this problem with stereos. They didn't have this problem with CDs or with cars or anything like that. Like their products were produced efficiently and cheaply and spread all over the world. But for other things like this, it's like, man, nobody likes our stuff. And so instead of just being like, oh, that's interesting, it's like, this is a real problem that we have to solve.
Right.
And it's only a problem because somebody wants some more money somewhere. It'd be totally fine for Japan to keep existing with their flip phones. But like the Steve Jobs of it all is like, no. We got to have full penetration all over the world. I need like people using iPhones on the moon or we have failed.
Right.
Yeah. There is no rest condition for capitalism.
No, there isn't.
Wall Street 2, money never sleeps.
My God. A derived term is gara-phone or gara-kei, blending Garapagosu-ka and mobile phone or keitai, used to refer to Japanese feature phones by contrast of the new smartphones. And just as recently as in 2015, NTT Docomo, the country's largest call text data provider, estimated that 45% of its subscribers were still using gara-kei. So that's almost half of, it's not the entire country, but it's a large percentage of the country. Takeshi Natsuno, professor at Tokyo's Keio University, explained, quote, Japan's cell phones are like the endemic species that Darwin encountered on the Galápagos Islands, fantastically evolved and divergent from their mainland cousins.
Yeah.
So,
but that posits that the question of inferiority is baked into that description, isn't it?
See, here's the weird thing, because I think specifically with
this is a self-conscious idea.
Yeah,
this is an insecurity on the part of
it is an insecurity
of Japanese producers. Because this is the boogeyman that they use to drive themselves to innovate. Because, island of 80 million people? How many people live in Japan?
That is a fantastic question. I don't know the answer to.
They have a market, and when they've got it cornered. So if you've got a cornered market, what's the problem?
Yeah. Well, I think specifically with keitai, they I think a lot of the anxiety is they were so advanced when they first came out. They're probably some of the first, like, okay, not the first mobile phones because we had the bricks like you were talking about and all of that. But they were some of the most advanced mobile phones at that time. And for a really long time, they were some of the most advanced mobile phones. And then they just didn't change, you know? And so because they stayed the same, and then here comes Apple, now we have like smartphones and stuff like that. That's where the anxiety comes from.
Right. But are there consumers, do they want to FaceTime? Do they want the features that their gara-kei phones don't have? Because otherwise, it is just, you know, we need to grease up these cornholes a little more.
Okay.
There's got to be some more money we can get out of these people.
Well, here's the thing that I read.
Well, tell me what you read.
There's a very large aging population in Japan, and the vast majority of them do not want smartphones, and they just need the ability to call or text and do a little bit of internet browsing.
Yeah.
You know, hit that world button, if you will. So there's that, and I think that they're also cheaper, I think, to buy and for service wise and everything too. So that's another reason why people like them.
I read a article about this that really kind of solidified for me that it is obviously anybody who wants to sell something in Japan is going to run up against this, but I still think it's something that the Japanese have put on themselves, a sign they've hung around their own necks.
I could see that.
Nobody seems to know where this term came from, but the Japanese apply it to themselves quite a bit.
They do.
And it's such a big deal that I think if you said this to a person on the street, they would know whether or not they are a telecom executive. They have a sense of themselves falling behind.
Yes.
To the point where, in this article, they sent a reporter to the Galapagos Islands, an NHK reporter, to get some more information, to get the word on the island street.
Wow.
And the funny thing about the Galapagos is you think it's just a bunch of turtles and birds, like in Master and Commander. But it's not. There's 50,000 people live there. They have streets. They have cell phone stores. And the guy went in the cell phone store, and there were a ton of cell phones, like modern cell phones.
Of course.
But they were Korean cell phones.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So apparently Korea's like, we don't got a problem with this.
Yeah.
Korea's like, no, take our cell phones. And Japan's like, oh, we got to get people to buy cell phones. I don't understand. Koreans, no problem.
That is really funny.
And then the reporter went to talk to the mayor of the town, whoever the guy was, maybe the governor of the Galapagos Islands, big turtle guy, right?
Sure, right.
And they're like, so what do you think about? We have this thing, and they explained it to him, and he's like, I'd never heard that. And he's like, yeah, and we think that like it's this bad thing. And he's like, oh, well, I don't like that it's a bad thing. I wish that you'd asked us before you decided to name it that.
Well, good point. That actually brings up a really good point. When I was reading about this and researching it, I was sitting there running everything you read is like, it's in terms of Japan. Like there are other countries that apply this term, but the vast majority it's applied to Japan.
Yeah.
And they apply it to themselves. And I was thinking,
and there's a lot of articles about how like, our new cell phone is going to get us out of this. The blockchain is going to get us out of this.
Right.
Like all these new technologies.
Well, but it just made me wonder, why didn't they name it the Japanese syndrome if they were going to be so self-conscious about it?
Because
so they applied it to themselves, but they wanted to distance themselves from it somewhat, and then also were referring to Darwin.
Endlessly talk about it in reference to themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing about self-awareness. If you don't have it, you're not.
Yeah, right, exactly. So there are other instances where this shows up in Japan. It's not just cell phones. The majority of 190,000 ATMs do not accept bank and credit cards that have been issued outside of Japan. According to an April 2022 article, only about 20,000 post offices and convenience stores allow retrieving cash using non-Japanese bank cards. And that's another thing that maybe you don't realize until you visit Japan. But there are a lot of it's just the way that it works in their country. But there are a lot of post offices that allow you to do like some banking.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's like this in other countries too.
It is.
Okay. And
most other countries.
Okay, so it's just not like this in the U.S. But a lot of them have ATMs, and that's how I would get my cash when I was studying abroad. So our post office did have an ATM that was outside of the actual post office, so you could get in when it was closed, and that's how I would get cash when I was over there. But so the Japanese government has expressed some concern about it, but it's not like overly concerned because it's like, well, how many foreigners do we really get, and how expensive is it going to be to change it and everything? But another product that came about in Japan that is an example of Galápagos syndrome was in 2004, the wallet phone, or Osaifu keitai, was introduced in Japan as a means to allow mobile payment alongside numerous other applications such as identity cards, loyalty cards, and fare collection of public transit, including airplanes, which I thought was interesting. So it's not just buses and trains, it's also airplanes like within Japan. In some ways, the wallet phone can be seen as a predecessor to like mobile payment, like what we have today, like Apple Pay and Google Wallet.
Yeah.
But I just want to emphasize this was specifically a phone that you got for payments and stuff like that. So I think you could use it as an actual phone as well. Yeah, I know, right? But because I'm just imagining, this is my wallet phone, this is my regular phone. But yeah, so this is another thing. They came up with this in 2004. It took us like 10 more years before we got to something like that. But the wallet phone never caught on over here. It never caught on. So there are a lot of associated issues with the inability to compete on the international export market. In order to revive parts of the Japanese economy that have suffered from Galapagosization, affected businesses had to find the reasons responsible for the development. This has led a number of Japanese companies to adapt their business strategies. Hiroshi Mikitani, CEO of e-commerce company Rakuten, sees the exclusive use of the Japanese language in workplaces to be at the center of the problem, following his belief that, quote, a language will open your eyes to the global and you will break free from the conventional wisdom of a pure Japan. Mikitani made English the main language to be spoken in the company. Another factor which McKinsey and Company, a global management consulting firm, points out is the need for Japanese companies to adapt to stronger competition when entering global markets. This should be done by accepting to think in, quote, new and unfamiliar ways about organization, marketing, and strategy, whilst the traditional practices that help the companies to become a bigger player in the Japanese market shall be discontinued. Despite the fact that companies have started to address the issue, which could have a link to the total value of exports increasing over the past 5 years, there are concerns about the future Galapagosization of Japan. Basically, there's a lot of anxiety around Japan was this tech giant in the 80s and 90s, and now it feels this anxiety that they're not at the top of the game.
These Ferris wheels aren't going to pay for themselves.
Right. I know, right? I mean, the bubble economy, everything popped. I understand your anxieties, but let's move on.
I would hate to insult a country by comparing it to America. But people talk a lot about the idea of American exceptionalism, you know, and how definitely the last half of the 20th century was like one big long midlife crisis that's still going for America. You know, throwing this football over those mountains was World War II for us, and it's just been like, you know, still going ever since.
Yes.
I guess Vietnam would have been divorce, buying a sports car,
Right.
hanging out outside of high schools.
Midlife crisis.
And so I would never try to put that on another country. But I feel like Japan's got a real, like, guys, we are screwing this up. Come on.
Yeah.
We are Japan.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yes, exactly. Get it together.
It's like, guys, you just got, like, shoes that tied, like, 70 years ago. Do you know what I mean?
But look where they came from.
You just got, like, blue jeans. Like, you know, there are people who are alive or have just passed away who remember no blue jeans.
Yes.
And so, like, I'm, have perspective, but this just seems like a symptom of like no, come on, now we're part of the world market. What are we bringing to the market?
Yes.
Fresh cucumbers and zucchini?
Right.
Or crap? Come on.
This just looks like crap. Why is this all crap?
Always be cell phoning. ABC. Saki's
like
for closers.
That's good. Shortened from the phrase Galapagos syndrome, Galapagos is used as an umbrella adjective in Japan to describe the country's increasing separation from the rest of the world. It is also tinged with a negative connotation of a country which sees itself in decline. In 2010, Sharp Corporation took everyone by surprise when it announced its new ebook readers with liquid crystal displays and using Google's Android operating system would have the brand name Galápagos.
Well, that's a bold move, Cotton. Let's see where this goes.
Yeah. Sharp was trying to shed the term's negative implications and redefine it as a term that integrates Japan's push to introduce and incorporate new technologies.
But like on a bet, why name it that? That's like Ford come out with like the all new 2023 Edsel.
I know.
Check it out.
I think they just were like, we're changing the story. We're doing this. Galápagos.
Right, but like think of the clinical self-obsession that you would have to go, F it, we're calling it the Galápagos.
I know.
Wow.
To try to differentiate the e-reader from the term, Sharp even wrote on one of its presentation slides, Galápagos is not Galápagosu. The second instance of the term was written in katakana. So it's not the thing that you associate with this word. It is not that thing.
Wow.
The first two models announced in 2010 were a 5.5 and a 10.8 inches each, or respectively, excuse me. After realizing that they were not going to compete with Apple's iPad, they discontinued those models a year later and announced a 7-inch tablet. And there were also plans to sell Galápagos in the U.S., but since researching this story is the first time I've heard of this device, that clearly didn't happen. So sadly, the Galápagos lived up to the name Garapagosu. I mean, it didn't even do all that. I think it did okay in Japan, but it was like as soon as they saw that it was not going to compete with iPad, they were like, we're changing it up 7 inches. Get rid of the 10-inch one. Get rid of the one that's the size of a smartphone.
Well, it's a better name than Nook anyway.
Yeah, I guess. Which, are they still making Nooks?
No.
Okay. I had to sell Nooks. I worked at Barnes & Noble.
But the point is that it, what killed it? The iPad, obviously. And maybe there was nothing better to name it, because the whole idea that you were going to try to make something that was specifically, essentially Japanese,
yes,
that would compete with the iPad is just you doubling down on Galápagosu.
Yes.
Because to really be global, not globalist, but global in this case, is to just go, give us the iPad. And then, we'll manufacture them here.
Sure.
They will come pre-installed, with Japanese language or whatever. But yeah, obviously this is what the people have all over the world. This is the tablet of Earth. Mm-hmm. But they're like, no, this isn't Galápagos, but it's kind of Galápagos though.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. And like a lot of people were just really taken aback by the idea of calling it that too.
Wow,
So
it's weird.
It is weird. Itadakimasu with Usagi. What did Usagi eat in this episode? No food in this episode. We don't have time to eat.
No, nobody's eating.
No. Feeling gauge, we rate a baddie 1 to 5 dark stars, 5 being the most wicked. No Daemon in this episode, so let's rate and talk about Cyprine and Pitolo. I just want to mention right here, she wasn't renamed this in the dub, but in the manga, which I'm rereading, I've been rereading, the version that I have, Pitolo was renamed Petite Roll.
What?
I think they just thought that's what it looks like.
But it's not. Nobody's saying it out loud. You can make it Mitzel Dick. You know what I mean? They can do whatever you want.
I know. But they felt the need to change it to Petite Roll.
Is it Mixias Pitalik?
Yeah.
We always said Mitzelplick when I was growing up.
Piddle?
And then I learned it was Mixias Pitalik. But I still hear Mitzel Dick, which sounds a little more fun.
It does sound more fun.
And then Tild Zip Zip Zim.
Zip Zip?
How do you say it backwards?
I don't know.
Mixias Pitalik. Zip Tip Pick the old two.
Are
you know what I'm talking about?
Are you trying to say
I'm talking about the imp from the fifth dimension who bothers Superman.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Mixias Pitalik.
Yeah, okay. Does he say his name backwards in this?
You make him say his name backwards, and then he has to go back to the fifth dimension.
Oh, so it's like Rumpelstiltskin. Kind of.
Well, tell it to Otto Bender or whoever created him.
All right. So Cyprine is pronounced Shipurin in Japanese, and Pitolol is pronounced Puchiroru in Japanese.
Puchiroru.
Yeah, there you go. And Cyprine's name comes from the silicate mineral cyprine, which is a bluish variety of, oh gosh, I hope I'm saying this right, Vesuvianite.
Vesuvianite?
Oh, Vesuvianite.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Earth Science over here.
Right.
I am struggling.
Look, I don't want to be treated any differently.
The word cyprine comes from cypros, the Greek word for copper, which is what gives the mineral its bluish color.
Right.
So that's pretty cool. Pitol's name comes from the mineral pitolite, which could refer to either sinopitolite or mordernite. I don't know. I'm struggling, man. It most likely is clipotolite, as one of its varieties can be reddish in color. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. Cyprine and Pitol's designs. Cyprine has blue hair, blue eyes, and a black and blue motif. Pitol has red hair and red eyes and a black and red motif. Both are wearing strappy dresses with fluted flower petal-like skirts, black on top, and then the color coming out of the bottom of the skirt. They are wearing matching tights with black crisscross designs and matching boots, blue and red, respectively. Cyprine has a bun and a long braid on the right side of her head, and Pitol has a bun and long braid on the left. They both have red flower earrings and a black star choker, and their outfits are very similar to Telu, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Although Pitol belongs to the Witches 5, this is a little bit of trivia, she is not thought of as an official member because she's an extension of Cyprine. It's because if you count her as an official member, there would be Witches 6.
Always get equal billing.
Yeah. That's right. If you're one body and one mind, but you appear as the blue-haired chick most of the time.
I have so many questions.
Yeah.
And we never do anything with that because we are just, I'm sure it was like this in the manga, but, you know, something that she was working out was her contract, I think, because she's just spinning off ideas. If you've got like a Corsican twin situation going on, there's a lot that we can do with that. Do you know what I mean? Like what does it mean that they share
one body,
one mind?
One mind.
Well, they're two bodies. They say one body, but they're literally two bodies.
Yeah, you're right.
But they share a mind, like what is that? And if
they
you
have
reveal all
thoughts?
this 3 minutes before they die,
Yeah.
It doesn't. They might as well have a million bodies and minds. We're not going to look into any details about this. And I'm like a sci-fi and a comic book fan. Like, I want to know what we can do with this here. There is a character called Madrox, the Multiple Man.
Okay.
Former villain, then became a member of X Factor.
Okay.
Which is an X-Man team. And he can create copies of himself.
Sure.
And they are him, essentially. They've kind of waffled on this as the series went on. They're not real copies. If they die, he's fine. But it's definitely distressing for him to have a copy of his die. I mean, there's still a body that they have to bury and everything.
Right.
But then later on, they kind of played with that, and they're like, maybe they are individuals on their own. The team faces this villain that seems to know all their secrets, and it's revealed that it's another copy of Multiple Man, who was made a long time ago, but just decided to go off and do his own thing. And now he's back and he's kind of resentful and he wants to be the real Multiple Man. And so there's all kinds of things that you can do with this.
Sure.
But these two idiots just shoot each other and it's over.
I know. So
like 2 foot soldiers are drawing a bead on Raphael and he just ducks down and they shoot each other.
I know.
And that's 12 seconds of a TMNT cartoon.
Yeah, I know.
It's over the so final quickly. Witches. The final and greatest of the Witches 5.5.
Well, they were the final and supposedly greatest in the manga as well.
Yeah.
And okay, so in the manga, they all have equal time, but the only reason they're the greatest is because there's 2 of them, in my opinion.
Right.
That's the only reason.
Well, maybe the cartoon should have not done so much at the beginning. Again, I've said this before, I wouldn't trade any time with Udile or Mehmet, but maybe in order to be fair to these characters, we, space it out a little more.
Yeah, I know.
It's
like they realized towards the end, oh crap, we've got 3 other witches, 3.5, whatever.
It's the Game of Thrones horse drawing.
Yes. Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
And you know what doesn't have this problem? Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon.
Yes.
The aughts live action Sailor Moon show. Because they have characters, the bad guys do stuff, then fail, get turned into rocks, disappear, leave, come back, turn bad, turn good, turn bad again. They're all in the mix the entire time.
Yes.
Nobody's just getting run over by an airplane and then get another one from the Pez dispenser.
You're absolutely right. So now we're up to our rating. Their designs were all right, in my opinion, but again, they reminded me of Telu, and I didn't like it as much as I liked Telu's design. So not great. Together as a team, they were formidable, but we have definitely seen twin baddies team up to attack the Senshi before, so it unfortunately isn't something that we haven't seen before. I mean, I don't know that we haven't seen somebody who came out of somebody else's body, one mind before, but once they were...
we didn't see it in this episode.
We didn't, really.
She's just there all of a sudden.
Yeah, right. You're absolutely right. How does it work? What are the logistics of it? Once they separated, the Senshi made quick work of them and just had them kill each other. So, honestly, not the greatest of the Witches 5. I'm going to give them 2 out of 5 dark stars.
Well, it's going to make me feel weird for giving them 4 out of 5 dark stars.
Really?
Look. We go back and forth on the concept versus the execution. You can only rate what they give you. Is that the rule? Or, wow, a little more elbow grease. This could have been really great.
Could have been really great.
I'm going to err on the side of the elbow grease.
Okay.
And say that I like the design and I like the idea. And I don't even mind them cheating and adding another half witch. But I mean, we don't spend much time with them. But I think they have a solid, if simple, design. I like that there's 2 of them. I like that they're red and blue. I like that they kind of give the sailors a run for their money, It'd be great if they were able to stretch over, say, 2 episodes.
Yeah.
Like your Cenicienta or something like that. So I think that the show shortchanged them, but I don't think that... I like that they absorb the powers. We need to really start to, think about how a villain can thwart our Sailor Senshi. Because I feel like either your powers don't work on me or I will throw your power back at you. That's kind of like the default.
Those are like the
thing.
two options.
So like, what if we, like what if we, they trick Jupiter into calling down a lightning bolt, but she's standing in a puddle of water or something and she electrocutes herself. I don't know.
I mean, that'd be smart.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, let's use these powers. I'm not asking for like 8-page Chris Claremont X-Men versus Freedom Force here, but like, let's use the aspects of their powers.
I think that's a good
idea. But I did think that also they get credit for the way they die, in that the sailors have a very creative way in dispatching them, which is, our stuff doesn't work? Okay, I'm guessing you're not you-proof? And so they just trick them into shooting each other.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cruel, but pretty cool. Same time.
It is really cool, and I liked how the Senshi worked together as a team. I thought that was pretty great.
So I think it's solid,
Okay.
and I might regret it, but I'll give him a 4.
Okay, sounds good. And sadly, this is Kalanite's final episode.
They didn't know what they had. And they never know, it would seem, how to give characters a good ending. Mm-hmm. It's possible that in creating a character, they create somebody who is too powerful, too smart, and too cool to get taken out by 5 girls in training bras.
Yeah.
And so they become a giant dragon.
I know.
Or their own evil ally has to cut their brake line or something like that, And so our girls don't have any agency in seeing these characters, leave the stage.
Yeah.
And I know there are bigger things, there are bigger fish being fried here, but why bring her back? Why bother to give her a makeover? Why do anything with her? You could have had anybody. You could have had a Piddle or Cyprine or anybody go through a portal and grab Chibiusa. You could have had Chibiusa. This house is crazy with portals. We've established that.
Right.
You could have had her just walk through a portal and be like, and I'm in the basement lab. Get on the slab.
Oh my God.
It's just a real. That's a real shame.
It is a real shame, and I think that they didn't know what to do with her, and I'm going to tell you why. Because in the manga, it was very different. She was basically the head of the Witches 5, and they were basically her underlings, and she sent them out. And they went and did stuff. For some reason...
And then she choked on a chicken bone or something and died.
I can't remember how she died in the manga, which is great now. But
it must have been dumb because it's not memorable.
It's not memorable. She seemed powerful all along, is what I'm trying to say in the manga. And for some reason, they decided...
seemed powerful in this.
I guess she did. But like you were saying, why bring her back?
Well, they had to drop half of Tokyo Tower on her to get rid of her the first time.
That's true.
Then they bring her back.
That's absolutely true. That's more memorable than this death.
In a new and kind of necessary role. But maybe that doesn't... It just raises questions that they're not interested in answering. Mm-hmm. And I think that, like I said, this is different than a comic book. This is even different than your kind of current 21st century genre series where, if Barry's going to do the 5 Mile Punch or whatever, we're going to hear every second about how they came up with something, or if Professor Zoom is going to do his plan, then he's going to have a whole speech and we're going to see flashbacks to how the plan came about.
It's going to be paragraphs.
Why he is who he is. And that's part of the experience now. But I think at this point still, and especially maybe for a kid's show, it's just, this is a character. It's around there for a while. Some character's got to do it. And then the character's going to go away. And nobody's going to be asking where they are because we're here for the super planet power.
Right.
And Sailor Moon and the other girls. But that's not, as a modern viewer, or just as a viewer who is used to memorizing entire swaths of MarvelWiki.com, I want to know this information. That is interesting to me. Mm-hmm. We make entire franchises about that.
Yeah.
Where did those fantastic beasts come from?
Right.
And why are they so fantastic?
Right.
How did we get to where we are now? Here's an entire, kids run out and they play Quidditch on a field, and they know the rules because somebody bothered to either write down from the book what the rules were, or there's just a book that you can buy that has the printed rules of Quidditch.
Yeah. I know. And it's kind of frustrating, and I want villains to get I want them to get their due as well, because I like the villains in Sailor Moon, and I like villains in general. I think that if they're done well, they can be really interesting characters. And she was an interesting character, and I feel like she was kind of done dirty by the anime team, and I don't like that.
They spend so well. I think the anime team, the animation team did great.
Yeah.
They spend so much time giving the villains motivations and having them have relationships with each other.
Yes.
That they are characters. If Ami did just get on the plane and left.
Yeah.
I mean, that's even more explanation than we get for Kaori. But like, if one of the sailors just wasn't in any more episodes, you'd be like, what happened there?
Yeah. What's going on?
Right.
Yeah. So I guess we kind of have to rate Kalanite.
Yeah, I guess.
So I'm gonna. It's got to be 5 out of 5 dark stars for me. I think she was fantastic. I love her design, especially her sleek black dress, which you see in the manga. And I just wish that she got to do more. And I wish that she got a better ending this time. And it just kind of makes me sad. But I thought she was a great villain. So 5 out of 5 for me.
I have to go 5 out of 5. She's got style. She's tough. She's incredibly petty.
Sassy.
Yeah, I mean, like, if we, I guess I would be 4.5 if we did halves in comparison to, I think, a more rounded character like an Esmeralda. Because remember, she spends most of the time that we see her, the whole first half of her existence, she's just like, here's some tea, professor. No emotions.
Yeah.
But when they let her off the hook or off the chain, suddenly things are happening.
Yeah.
And I like it when she has personality.
Me too.
She's powerful. Her powers are cool. It's amazing that she comes back. I almost like her more as like drunk stepmom than as
I kind of do too,
as
honestly.
Villain. And then she makes an amazing transformation into the goth princess of Saturn or whatever she is. By the end of the show. But I mean, she'll be missed. Pour one out for Kalanite.
I think I almost like her second half more than her first half, because I feel like they didn't really allow her to show personality.
Right, but she's like
first time around.
Yeah, she had personality though. She's crashing boyfriend girlfriend contests, and she's
true.
She's doing all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, that's true. Okay.
Arrgh.
All right.
Show, you wound me.
Well, now we're up to our rating. I like that when Usagi accidentally slips in the bathroom, her and Chibiusa end up having a playful water fight. It's not mean-spirited at all, which I like. This time, and you feel like it is this time. But I like that Kaori is hanging from the ceiling like a bat, eavesdropping on Supreme and Dr. Giggles. That was a fantastic scene. I loved it. I like that Tuxedo Mask and Sailor Pluto team up to try to save Chibi Moon from Kaori. So here's a fun little trivia tidbit. In the manga,
oh my God,
Setsuna, Sailor Pluto, had a crush on Endymion.
Ugh.
That was unrequited.
Okay, why?
She just loved him from afar, even though he was married.
That's your boss's husband, lady.
I know. But so I almost kind of wonder if that's why they had them team up so much at the end here. But I don't know.
Well, I can't decide if they're a good team or a bad team.
They might be a bad team because this happened to Chibiusa on their watch.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
They're like, no, this ice cream's great.
Yeah, right.
Were we protecting a kid? Oh my God, the kid!
I know. I love how the Senshi want to show Supreme and Piddle their teamwork, and how they trick them into attacking each other is just brilliant. I like the weird, creepy music that plays when Hotaru gets excited about the pure heart, the la la la,
the evil
music.
la la music.
Yeah, exactly. It breaks my heart that while she's being attacked, Chibiusa recognizes Hotaru and says that she's glad she's okay. It literally breaks my heart.
What if she was like, no, screw you, get me out of here.
I know.
And then like her heart is like 1% less pure. That would have saved her, ironically.
Yes. Yeah.
She's like, Hotaru, you bitch. Hotaru's like, well, I don't want this heart. Forget it.
It's tainted.
Ugh, it's a little stale.
It's impure now. The ending really makes me tear up when Tuxedo Mask is talking about how they will continue fighting for what they believe in. And we see that the Senshi are all lined up in their costumes looking determined to go into battle. It just makes me so emotional. I loved this episode. I'm going to give it 5 out of 5 roses.
Well, the numbers are high this week. I think I probably got to give it 5 as well. Again, if we did halves, it might be in the half range. Because this is not a battle of 10 warriors. This is not
It's not.
Battle at Point D situation. The battle at the school that blew up. But it is still good. And there is a lot going on. You know, it's easy to have the build-up be really incredible. And the blow-off, you know, is just, well, it just happens. I should give this a 1 for what they did to Kaori. But if you consider the fact that she's not really important to the story, no matter how much I like her, it doesn't matter. But I like the fact that there's action. We are still evolving the characters' relationships to each other and their place in the story. This would be a great penultimate episode. That is, the sailors go right back and go, oh, hell no, and they get Chibi back. But we know that there's 4 more episodes to go. So this is another heightening, and there is more above this still on the mountain before we get to the top. So I think that that's incredible that they could raise the tension this high. Now, of course, we always forget that for 30 episodes before this, tension not so high.
I know.
If you've ever done one of those computerized bike elliptical things and you can set the terrain, right? This would just be like a slowly rising grade. And then last episode, it just spikes straight up like an exponential graph of an equation in terms of the stakes. But that being said, liked it, like the villains, like the weird jingly bells. What's going on there? Like the, I don't need an explanation. I don't care. Like the villain that splits herself in two. Like the, you know, it's not a magic trick. I just tuned into the channel that this season was doing very early on when I said this is obviously going to be a lot of Christian and messianic imagery. And we've just gotten directly into that. That continues to pay off. Still waiting for a Terminator. Although there are a lot of glowing red eyes, though.
There are.
Yeah. So, I mean, it has basically met or exceeded my expectations. I got to give it a 5.
My English title is Messiah Awakened, Hotaru no More.
That's good.
Yeah.
Beefy. Yeah, they should take that one. That's good. Well, I'm trying to stay with my classic rock titles for the episodes. This is a tough one because think about the idea of a heart and, you know, losing your heart or needing a heart.
Yes.
And so I immediately thought of the only #1 hit by prog rock band Yes when they went poppy in the 80s.
Okay.
On their 1983 single, Owner of a Lonely Heart.
Oh, that's really sad. I think that fits this episode.
Eater
really
of a
well.
Lonely Heart.
Yeah. No kidding.
Ooh.
Yeah. Next episode, we are talking about episode number 124. Samari Kuru Yami no Kyufu. Kusen no Hasenshi in Japanese. The Imminent Terror of Darkness, Struggles of the 8 Guardians, the English translation, and the English title, Who's Really Who?
Who are you? Got my title.
Yeah.
That's going to save me a lot of time. It's going to let me instead review our offerings on our Patreon, which I curate every week for our Inner Senshi and Outer Senshi members, giving you the extra content that we produce. Sometimes it's new podcasts, like our Animedification show where we talk about a randomly selected anime. Sometimes it's our reviews, like it is currently, of Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon, the live-action show from the aughts. The live-action adventures of the Sailor Senshi. Sometimes it's just goofs. Sometimes we do some goofs. Put that in the outtakes. Sometimes I go on too long about Otto Binder Superman comics.
That's okay.
And Mixias Pitalik. That goes in the outtakes too. If you didn't hear me mention Mixias Pitalik in this show, that's where it went. Only about an hour.
Where did it go?
Only an hour and we'll move on.
Okay.
And if you want that stuff, you can get it by going to patreon.com/Sailor Noob and joining our team, becoming a Senshi today, getting some of that extra content.
Yes.
If you don't like that, you can also just go, hey, these guys are doing a good job. How about a tip in the tip jar?
Yes.
Go to our Ko-fi, ko-fi.com/just enough trope. We've updated it.
Woo!
It is not a random string of numbers and letters now. It is Just Enough Trope, the name of our parent network. So if you go to ko-fi.com/just enough trope, all one word, you can put a little something in the tip jar for us. Helps us produce more shows. We really appreciate it.
Feels so good to get that changed. I didn't realize it was all random letters and numbers. That just makes my head scramble.
So part of that is not having enough time to read the rules.
That's okay.
They assigned a number, and I was like, oh, that's it. All right, I'll just have to remember this. It's EF1210. And then I was on Coffee the other day, just on our page. It was like, oh, I can just change this to whatever. So, all right.
I'm not stuck with it.
Well, only 122 show posts that have the wrong URL in it now, but we are at ko-fi.com/just enough trope.
Well, that's our show for this week. In the name of the moon, we'll be punishing you next week with another episode of Sailor Noob.
R.I.P. Kaori.